the energy sector under Kamala Harris. It's a pleasure having Ronald Stein from California today with us in Café com Cavanha podcast. Welcome, Ronald.
Armando, glad to be aboard.
Excellent. Let me put in a full way. Ronald, Democrats say every time that they support the Paris Agreement, but I cannot understand why in these 4 years of Biden's administration, they did not decide to enter again.
Well, I think it all stems back to the fact that Biden, Kamala, most politicians don't understand the word energy. And, forget the Paris Agreement. It all comes down to energy. And, their interpretation of energy is they firmly believe wind and solar energy is going to replace oil. But they do different things. Wind and solar generates electricity. Oil never generates electricity. Oil is useless. It's black tar. Unless you can throw it through a refiner and they heat it and they beat it and they crack it, they do all these crazy things. And you come up with these oil derivatives that, humanity has come up with a lot of ingenuity. And we developed like 6,000 products. Yeah. And I don't care what agreement you're talking about, Paris Agreement, zero emission society, whatever. The bottom line is we have a materialistic society today that is totally dependent on those products, those fuels, for all the transportation infrastructures. A lot of emphasis is going on cars, but there's 50,000 merchant ships, there's 50,000 military jets, there's 20,000 commercial jets. These are all part of the transportation infrastructure. Besides the trains, you got to build them, and everything is based on the products. And whatever the policy is, the Paris Agreement, any zero emission society, it gets down to the point you're trying to compare apples and oranges. You want to get rid of oil to eliminate all emissions, but there's no backup plan.
Yeah. But going back to Paris Agreement, because it's a kind of a green team approach, and Kamala, if Kamala wins, I'm not sure about that. Of course, the election's only on November. You see that Democrats can face Paris Agreement again, or they can, let's see, last to more 4 years only talking about that and doing nothing.
Well, they've been doing nothing for 4 years already, so I don't know if it's going to change.
Yeah.
Like I say, they're so much inclined to go to zero emissions at any cost, but I keep telling people, Armando, we had a zero emission society less than 200 years ago. Before oil was discovered, we had no oil, we had no products, we had no fuels, we had nothing. And it was a zero emission society. And I get the impression that's what they want to go back to, because there's nothing known to date that can replace big oil.
Yeah. At the same time, the environmental regulation in the United States at this time, you see that's it's too complex. If Republicans win, can become easier to let's simplify this regulation. Well, how do you see this process?
Well, I don't know if the Republicans win. I don't know if they would change the regulations as much as they would promote. I know they're going to promote more drilling instead of being dependent on foreign countries to basically drill for oil, because unless you can come up with a substitute for it, that's the basis of our lifestyle. Because the world populated from 1 to 8 billion people in less than 200 years. Half of the discovery of oil wasn't oil; it was the products. And that's what we got to do, is because if we get rid of oil, which Kamala wants to do, she wants to stop all drilling. California's done that pretty much. We're getting down to zero, and she wants to do that for the rest of the country. And that could be devastating for the country, because like I said, we're totally dependent on foreign countries. And, no one uses crude oil in its raw form. Big oil only exists because of humanity's addiction to the products and the fuels made. We love our hospitals, we love our airports, we love all the infrastructure we have, but it's all made, from oil. And so, until that changes, I know the Republicans are going to want to get back into the oil business, and yeah, so that's a
Yeah,
direction difference between Republicans and Democrats.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So about green technology and electrification, I'm not sure about your opinion if it's something bad or good to the country, but you see that Republicans could stop investing in green technology, or they keep doing these investments.
I think they're going to not mandate it as much because it's it's tough. I mean, all the exotic minerals and metals to go green, they have a limited supply. The Earth has a lot of resources, and Armando, we're extracting them at alarming rates. Billions of barrels of oil every day, and lithium and cobalt and manganese. You know, the well's going to run dry at some point in time. We've been on this earth really about 200 years. I mean, yeah, caveman and the dinosaurs, but humanity really has made its presence in the last 200 years, and we're withdrawing all these resources from planet Earth, not replenishing them.
Mhm.
And it's hard to estimate how many reserves are there because technology keeps changing. We thought oil was, we had 100 or so years left. And now we can frack. And so who knows what technology is going to be. But eventually it's going to run dry. And, same thing with lithium and cobalt. How much lithium
Mhm.
and cobalt is there? And when you take a look at like EV batteries, I mean, they're huge. I mean, a Tesla battery, it's 1,000-pound battery. And all the lithium, cobalt, manganese, all the exotic minerals, you got to move 500,000 pounds of earth to make one battery. Now,
Mhm.
here in California, Governor Newsom wants 18 wheelers to go electric. Now, an 18 wheeler battery, it's not 1,000 pounds, it's 16,000 pounds. So to make one battery, you got to move 8 million pounds of earth to make one battery. How long can that go on? And so, right now, green technology is minerals and metals, and the other technology is oil. And so, both have limited range. And do we have 100 years left, 500 years left, 1,000 years left? Who knows? But Earth has been around 4 billion years. It's going to be here without you and I.
Yeah, yeah. What's your vision about if Trump wins? The idea is to increase again the domestic fossil fuel. Of course, 4 years is not enough to make too many difference, but the intention is to increase domestic fossil fuels production and natural gas exports, so can become again a normal exporter of natural gas.
Yes, yes. I think the resources we have, every country has a lot of resources. And I think we would just take advantage, like I say, it would be a benefit to the economy. And with the technology, I mean, oil production today is a lot different than it was, 50 years ago. And it's a lot cleaner, there's a lot more regulations on it. So we'll do it as clean as possible and, adhere to the regulations. But, we can't put our head in the sand, um, and we can't totally rely 100% on foreign countries, to support the lifestyles that we're not going to give up. And it's, we're so focused on reducing emissions at any cost, but the cost is the developing countries, they're paying the cost. I mean, just like we're talking about all this mining for exotic minerals and metals, over in, Africa and China, they have no labor laws and no environmental laws. They're exploiting people who have yellow, brown, and black skin to mine for this.
Mhm.
The environmental degradation is atrocious, but it's okay. It's over there. We can't see it. And
yeah.
I think that's unethical, immoral, and hypocritical. You say you want to clean up the earth, well, you're only cleaning up your own backyard. You're making your
Uh,
neighbors, dirty.
with the following debates that are coming, I suppose that there is one planned for August or no, no, yeah, for August or September.
September,
And
September.
September. Do you see an opportunity for them to discuss about energy, fossil fuels, green energy, or they will keep this issue uh, out of the debate?
Well, that's up to the press. And I wrote an op-ed several weeks ago, but I think it was like 6 or 7 questions that the moderators should ask the presidential candidates
Oh
to
yeah,
talk about their energy literacy because they keep talking about zero emissions, but it's a fool's game. You can't do
yeah,
that
yeah.
and keep the economy going and keep people living in a zero emission society. And so I think the presidential candidates would address the question if the questions were asked, and they're not being asked.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. They do not touch this matter. I don't know why.
I mean, it's a basic question because if you get rid of oil, what's your backup plan to keep the hospitals open that didn't exist 200 years ago? To keep the airports open that didn't exist 200 years ago? And it's just amazing that, like I say, without oil, try to identify. We've talked about this before. When you go to a hospital, your office, you go shopping, try to identify something that was not made from oil.
And Republicans and Democrats, in terms of environmental problems, issues, do you see too many difference between these two thoughts? I mean, environmental protection and how do you see this?
I don't see a lot of difference in the environmental protection. I guess the only thing with the Democrats, they're so against big oil that they just want to stop production. The problem goes away instead of controlling it, meet the regulations, et cetera, et cetera. Um, they just want to get rid of big oil. Now, if they really want to get rid of big oil, it's just like a restaurant. If a restaurant serves a food that nobody likes, people don't go to the restaurant. The restaurant closes. Well, if you want to get rid of big oil, like I said, no one uses crude oil, raw crude oil. If you want to get rid of big oil, stop using the products, stop using the fuels,
Yeah.
shut down the airports, and, and stop making defibrillators for the hospitals, stop making x-ray machines.
How do you see the influence of the governor Nilsson in terms of energy policies? The, I mean, he's strong enough to make difference in terms of energy policy in the country, or it's nothing?
Well, he's done. I have 2 sentences I say. I say, Newsom has done a fantastic job. 2-second pause of killing the California economy. He couldn't do a better job because, he's been shutting down power plants. He's been reducing oil production. We now import more electricity than anyone else in the United States. Our electricity is the highest cost in any state in the United States. And he has basically driven our oil production to the point that, 50 years ago during the oil embargo, we were 95% self sufficient between oil production in California and Alaska. It provided 95% of the demands of the fourth largest economy in the world. That
Wow.
was 50 years ago. Since, and it's not just Newsom, it's all the governors that preceded him, they've been reducing production, reducing production. Now, California is more than 60% dependent on foreign oil to run the fourth largest economy in the world. We got 9 international airports just in the state of California. We got 42 military airports in California. We got 3 of the largest shipping terminals in the United States here in California, all being run by foreign oil. He has been instrumental in making California a national security risk for the entire country. And so, should I
Yeah.
go on?
What can happen if Trump wins and with different approach of California governors. How can this match? So, is he independent enough to do his own regulation?
Well, that would be a real head knocking event because, like I say, I'm pretty sure Biden wants to do the same thing that Newsom was doing, but Trump wants to drill, quote, quote, drill baby. And if we're drilling throughout the United States and not in California,
Yeah.
there's going to be a lot of explanations to, how come you're not adhering to the president's guidelines?
The federal decision can made. Do they have rights to drill in California? Although the governor doesn't want this, or maybe against.
I'm not sure where it's going to be basically a challenge. Who has the power? Can you dictate what I do in my backyard type thing? And so
Yeah.
we'll see on that one.
Yeah. Who pays more attention to efficiency, to the energy conservation? Republicans or Democrats are the same? Is the same?
I think they're both the same. I mean, obviously, we got to focus on conservation and efficiency because, these resources that the earth has, they're not going to last forever. And just because we have them, we don't want to use it inefficiently. And so it's to humanity's benefit if we can keep improving efficiencies. We've been doing that. I mean, the automobiles, 50 years ago got, less than 10 miles to a gallon. Now they're getting 50 and more. And you want to keep improving efficiencies and conservation. You don't want to, take a big, 18 wheeler and go shopping.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you see public transportation? Is it applicable to the United States? Because in Europe, for instance, public transportation is very important. It's a big part of the logistics of Europe. But the United States, very little participation. How do you see
Right.
that?
Well, because the United States kind of grew with roads and automobiles,
Yeah.
and we're very spread out. And when you take a look at California, we're a pretty condensed state, and it's easy to build a railroad when there's no one around. Build it and then you build the city around it. California's built out, and so yeah, it'd be great to have rail, but you're gonna have to go through cities and counties, and it's really gonna be tough to basically break that monopoly. We're a mobile society.
Yeah, because Democrats, I think they are following this idea to make public transportation more important, relevant in the country. No.
Yes, but like I say, it's easy to build a railroad first and then
Yeah.
build the city around it, and then have the city, and then here comes the railroad, and
Yeah.
then all the setbacks. I mean, it's devastating to do it in effect ass backwards.
And the model, how people move, is not feasible to have public transportation at this time. We take decades to install infrastructure to public
Oh yeah, it takes decades to
transportation.
plan it, decades to get permits, and decades
Yeah,
to build it. And so, if you're talking about putting in rail now, it might happen in 20 or 30 years. And the people that are permitting it, they may not be alive by the time it does go in.
yes,
So
exactly.
it's a real challenge to do it afterwards.
Yeah, it's very similar to Brazil. We have public transportation here in Brazil, but the roads is dominant in terms of
Well, in the United
long.
States, we had railroads went to east to west, and they were installed
Yeah,
before people got off their horses.
yeah,
And it was,
yeah,
nobody around, and so, they built it, and then they kind of built the cities around them. But when you have a metropolis like California has almost 40 million people just in one state, it's tough to build a office building, let alone a train to go through everything.
How long you see some possibility to replacement of oil, is or never, or 2050 you have some
Well, that's a
kind of.
tough one. Oil is like it's a carbon material, and all the products that are made, iPads, iPhones, computers, X-ray machines, it's all based on the carbon content. And we've had 200 years to replace it since we discovered oil 200 years ago, and been unable to do it. And unless we can get a carbon alternative, I don't know if there is a replacement. And can you make an iPhone out of something else other than oil? Can you grow lettuce and make an iPhone? I don't think so.
uh,
So
you
that
mentioned.
might be a real challenge. Is there a backup plan? People are against big oil, but they want to go to renewable. But renewables only generate electricity. They don't make anything.
Yeah. You mentioned big oil. Is it visible that big oil are supporting one party or another party, or they are, let's say, independent?
They kind of walk the fine line. There's a limit to what they can say. If they say anything, it gets misinterpreted by one or
Yeah,
both parties.
yeah, that's
So
right.
it's
That's
best
right.
that they stay silent.
Blame them. Yeah, yeah. Very sensible position.
Yes,
Very sensible position. Yeah, but they are very strong in the margin, equatorial margin, north part of Brazil, in Guyana, and these parts. They are investing a lot and increasing the production of Guyana.
right.
Impressive, impressive. Do they do? And Namibia in Africa, they are investing at this time with some new blocks. And so oil tends to be stable or growing a little bit for a long time.
Yeah, I think Asia is planning on building 88 new refineries. 88.
Wow.
Here in the United States, I think we only have 35. Some are pretty large, but we're not building anything here. And the existing refineries can do upgrades and modifications to the existing site, but there hasn't been a new refinery built in the States in decades, and most likely there never will be.
All private investments, of course,
Oh, yes, yes.
but with regulations supporting these refineries investments.
Yes, I mean, obviously, the regulations, they're very tough, and the regulations, require the cost of manufacturing to go up, and if it goes up, then the price of fuel and the price of those oil derivatives goes up. So, any cost on big oil is, in the products they're making.
But nothing in California, nothing of that.
We have existing refineries, and they're under constant pressure to, clean up this, clean up that, and yeah, like you say, the California refineries, I think, are the cleanest refineries in the world.
Oh yeah.
But Newsom wants them to be cleaner.
But clean in terms of technology to make the process
No emission,
cleaner.
no
Our
emissions.
emissions,
Yes,
emissions.
yes.
Wow, but it costs a lot for that, no?
In fact, I got to tell you a funny story about Kamala Harris. When she was the Attorney General here in California, she arranged a site tour of the Unocal refinery in Wilmington, which is the LA refinery of Unocal. It's since changed names. But
Mhm.
she showed up at the gate, and I know the construction manager met her at the gate. And the first thing she says, "Are those smokestacks over there?" And he
Ah,
says, "Ms. Harris, we don't have smokestacks in refineries. It's a very, dangerous process to process crude oil. And if something goes, we get an upset like a power outage, we have to basically move that oil to a flare and we'll burn it off. But it's not a smokestack." And she paused for a second. "I'm not walking on any property that has a smokestack." Got back in
oh,
the fleet of vehicles and left.
oh my God! Was Kamala
Was
this?
Kamala, yeah. She was the
Oh,
Attorney General at the time.
oh
But
my
yeah,
God!
he said, "We have safety devices, but we don't have smokestacks." But
Impressive.
she saw a stack, and It's just like when people drive by a refinery and they see all that, smoke.
Uh-huh.
Armando, it's steam.
Steam.
It's
Sure.
steam.
Sure.
It's not smoke.
Yeah.
Yeah, today's
Yeah.
refineries, you see steam coming up, but no smoke.
At the same time, Tesla is moving headquarters and plants to Texas. Tell me, the reason is barbecue is better in Texas than California?
Oh, definitely.
Because,
Well, I think they've penetrated California. It's interesting. Of all the EVs in the entire country of the United States, I think about 40% of them are here in California. And the next largest state is Florida. The other 48 states, you don't see too many EVs because they go into temperate climate conditions. And so, yeah, moving to the Texas, he can get away from all the California regulations. It's even starting to affect him and go into friendlier country. And from there, he's got access to more of the country direct. So it's probably a good financial move to get away from Newsom.
yeah. To close our conversation today, Ronald, please be free to make a speech comparing Republicans and Democrats in the energy sector in a closing vision.
Well, for one, I really got to, I guess, admit neither party has energy literacy. And but I think the Republicans have more of it because they know that we got no backup plan for oil. So until we can do that, we basically have to support the economy, the people's lifestyles, and and that's going to be from the products we get from oil. And if we get rid of oil in the United States, which the Democrats are emphatic about, then we're going to be more and more dependent on foreign countries, and their emissions are greater than ours. We talked about this before. If you want to build something that emits emissions, you want to build it in the most environmentally controlled location in the world. In the case like a refinery, you want to build a refinery in California. It's going to be the cleanest in the world. But to close your eyes and say, well, they're going to build 88 in Asia. I mean, their emissions go into the same air that we're breathing.
Sure.
And so it's a fool's game to let them, do it over there. Because if the Democrats are successful in shutting down oil in the United States, which they want to do, then we're going to be relying on not only crude oil for the refineries that are here coming from foreign countries, but those 88 refineries, they're going to provide all the fuels, all the oil derivatives that make all of our products.
Yeah.
We'll be 100% dependent on them for our lifestyle.
Yeah.
And so and again, then they're exploiting people because they have no labor laws and no environmental laws. And like I say, it's a fool's game.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's tunnel vision too.
I have a question, but of course I cannot do this question for you, make this question for you because it's a very political issue. Do
That's
you
okay.
see do you see a trend for this election? Something clear? Or is it difficult to?
Well, I think the inflationary aspects of this net zero, like it's a fool's game to do that because you're trying to replace oil with wind and solar, and all it's doing is driving up the cost of electricity, which is driving up the cost of everything. Minimum wage is going up, and it's been extremely tough on individuals. Most individuals don't have a lot of savings. Most individuals are tapped out. They're in debt for auto loans, credit cards, and living paycheck to paycheck. And I know here in California we have like 180,000 homeless, and the situation is they want to solve the homeless problem, but they're not addressing the fact they really got to start projecting how the homeless is going to grow because the working population, if they lose their job, they're one paycheck away from joining that homeless population.
Mhm.
And once you're homeless, I don't know how you get out of that situation. My granddaughter graduated from UC Santa Barbara about a month ago. We drove up for the ceremony, and my GPS traffic through LA was terrible, so it routed me through LA. So I was driving through downtown LA, Armando. It scared the hell out of me.
Wow. Why?
I I've never seen such hardcore homeless people.
Oh my God.
And I've got a Mercedes, and I wouldn't stop. I kept distancing from the car in front of me. I was moving like 1 mile an hour, 2 miles an hour, but I was moving. I would not stop the car because it was really sad.
Oh
And
my God.
thinking, how are those people going to get a job?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think they qualify to flip hamburgers.
And the governor had a decision to make the homeless people outside the cities.
Well, again, just like, Governor Newsom, I always say that he only breathes California air. He'll clean up this here. He'll, the mission to be, another country, another state, that's okay. He only breathes California air. He's going to clean up state property. So he's going to
Ah,
move the people from this side of the street to the other side of the street,
oh my
but the
God.
state property is going to be clean. I mean, he has the same vision. And so
And
he
the
just,
propaganda is so strong here in Brazil because California is cleaning, is readapting people. So it's
they're
not.
just moving her from one side of the street to the other side of the street.
Oh my God. Oh my.
Yeah.
That's a great conversation, but my bet today is that you will not accept to be vice president
I
of
will not.
Kamala.
No,
No, no,
I
please
think
do
I'm
not
too
accept.
intelligent. I don't even want
Great,
to talk
man.
about energy literacy. They never want to talk about it.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Ronald. Great
Thank-
pleasure to talk to you today again.
Armando,
Thank
have a
you.
great day.
You too. Bye
Okay,
bye.
take care.
Thank you. Bye.